welcome to the Melodramatic Welcome to the Melodramatic. What is wrong with me? Bookworm, this. Hello people, this is Sonali, the Melodramatic Bookworm. If you've been here before, welcome back, and if you're new to my channel, welcome to the Melodramatic Bookworm family. I'm here today with my October 2022 wrap up, and in this video, as you know, I will be talking about the books that I read in October 2022. I read 5 books in October. Yeah, 5. And I want to say that I'm disappointed, but I'm not. I'm very okay with reading 5 books or 10 books or 20 books or even 1 book. I'm completely fine with it. A lot has changed over the past year, if you can see, as you can see very clearly. But October was a pretty hectic month for me because I took part in Blocktober, and in Blocktober what you do is you post on your blog every single day of the month, and I did that. I finished it. I've spoken more about it in a very recent coffee talk video, so if you'd like to go check that out, link here as well as in the description box below. And also don't forget to go check out my blog, by the way. So that is why I read only 5 books, but I read some great books. I found a favorite book and a favorite author, so that elevates the whole month for me in ways that I really cannot explain. One was a review copy, which I have a full video review of already, and the other 4 were library books. So my books are just there sitting like, when will she get to us? And I tell them every day, soon, and then disappear. Okay, anyway, this introduction has gone on for way too long, so without any further ado, let's dive right into this video and let me share with you the 5 books that I read in October 2022. First is The Gods Are Not Dead by Abhay Dev. This is the story of Shaurya, an IT employee who one day realizes that he has become indestructible. But he doesn't get drunk on his power or anything. Instead, he wants to bring some change to society. So he starts going about doing it, although his methods are not that great. On one of these occasions, he meets Megha, and she enters his life and she starts guiding him towards what he could do better. But will Shaurya actually end up doing the things that he really wanted to do, or will he lose himself in this process, forms this entire story. And I really enjoyed this book because it talks a lot about how taking a stand is important, about religion, and about how it can be really intoxicating. People can lose themselves in the throes of religion, and there's a lot more which I've spoken about in a detailed review, which you will find here as well as in the description box below. Please go check that out. I would recommend this book. Please go ahead, read it, and let me know what you think. Next is Her Body and Other Parties by Carmen Maria Machado. This is a collection of short stories in which the author talks about different women and their lives with a supernatural twist, be it exploring a woman's sexuality in a dystopian world, or be it talking about writing, about a woman being a writer and discovering things about herself and about writing in general. There's a lot in this book that will just send goosebumps down your spine. It's not an easy read by any means. It will take you time to get through. It is tedious, it is exhausting because of the topics it deals with. A woman's everyday life is not easy because of the sexism, the misogyny that we live even in this time and age. And when it comes to queer women's lives, it becomes even more complicated, but the author here has dealt with all of this fabulously well. It becomes a little meandering at times, it becomes a little cryptic at times, but this is a book that you should go into with all your senses. Don't go into it because you need a light read. Don't go into it because you have time on your hands, like I have 15 minutes on my hands, so I'm going to read a story or something. No, give it all your time. Sit down, maybe with a pen and paper for you to write down your thoughts about it or something, but give it everything, invest yourself. And I did that too. Like, I sat down with a notebook and a pen and my phone also, because there were some stories which I didn't understand at one go. There are papers written about the stories in this book, and I had to go check them out. I had to go read them in order to find out whether what I was thinking was right. What I was thinking was what the story wanted to convey. And once I had that assurance, once I was like, okay, fine, this is what was actually intended, then I went back with a clearer mind. It helps that way to consume these stories like this, so I would recommend that you do it. But either way, please go read these. They are powerful, they are empowering, and they are also realistic. You will know what I mean when you're reading it, when I say realistic, but you need to read this book. Next is Tin Man by Sarah Winman, and this is such a beautiful book. If you can guess from my expression and the way I'm already talking about it, this is now one of my favorite books of all time. Sarah Winman's writing is beautiful, but I'll get to that in a minute. This is a story of Alice and Michael, who meet at the age of 12, and slowly and steadily they forge a relationship, a bond of sorts, a connection which evolves and grows as they do too. And then when Annie enters their lives, things begin to change. Annie does form a bond with both Alice and Michael. They form a little trio of sorts. But when Annie and Alice marry, Michael somehow he goes out of the picture. What has happened that has changed these relationships so much, that has changed these connections so much, forms this entire story. And I'm saying this in a very simple manner, but there are so many layers to this story. There are so many intricacies that when you read them, you'll be like, oh my god. And that's exactly how it went, because Sarah Winman's writing is so beautiful. It is so powerful, impactful. It's a very quiet book. The first thing that went through my mind when I was about 10 to 15 pages in is that, oh my god, how is this book so quiet? Like, how can I feel the lack of noise, the lack of chaos in this book? It has that quality to it in which I could hear a door shut, I could hear a car going, I could hear the traffic, I could hear Alice's gasp for breath, I could hear Michael's angst. And this made this book into something so beautiful for me that it just made me drown in its calmness, in its coolness. Yet throughout all that calm and cool is a chaos that I think is intertwined in every one of us lives, but that chaos is so palpable throughout this book. You read it like there's something brewing under. There is something brewing under, and I cannot put my finger on it, but I absolutely love it. That's how you're going to feel after you read Tin Man. And I don't know how I'm able to talk about this book, because it made me so emotional, so speechless when I finished it, and I was not expecting anything that came about, but then again I somehow knew. And when a book does this, it's going to be an amazing experience. That was what Tin Man was for me, and I got really emotional when I was writing a review for my blog as well. If you'd like to go check that review out, link here as well as in the description box below. Next up is Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. I've done a full vlog about this, like recording my experiences while reading the book, and it was one big roller coaster ride, and it was so disgusting at times as well, but it's a good book. It's a good horror book. This is the story of Noemi Taboada, who goes to her cousin's house after receiving a letter asking for help. Her cousin is saying that her husband is poisoning her, the walls have voices, and etc, etc, etc. So Noemi now goes to help her cousin, and when she arrives at High Place, which is what the place is called, the house is called, she realizes that her cousin hasn't been lying. There is something fishy going on, and as she meets every single character, you just want to punch some of those characters in the face, which I've said in that vlog like 10,000 times, it feels like. But when things come to her head and when everything unravels, the truth unravels, how will Noemi handle it? Will she be able to emerge from it? Will she be able to save her cousin? Forms this entire story. And oh my god, the revelations, the actual revelations, the horror revelations, they had me like, oh, it didn't help that I was eating a cupcake at that time, but yeah, oh my god. But let's not dwell on that. This is a good horror book, but I somehow felt that there was something missing. Like there was not that snap to it. I don't know. When I think back on it, in hindsight, the book seems pretty scary enough, especially for a scaredy cat like me. But then again, I'm like, okay, and then what? Like I finished reading it at like 2:30 in the night. So you can imagine what was going on through my mind. Like why I didn't find this book to be the best out there. It is creepy enough, but somehow something was missing. I can't put my finger on it. And then the last book that I read in October was Less by Andrew Sean Greer. I finished it just in the nick of time, just before November started. And this is the story of Arthur Less, who finds out that his lover is now getting married, and to avoid that he sets out on this whole trip. Like he plans things so that he is nowhere in the vicinity when his ex-lover is getting married. So he goes from places. He goes to New York, he goes to somewhere in Italy, I think, and then he goes to India, and then he goes to Japan, and he's on this whole world tour of sorts. Oh, and the most important thing is that he has just been rejected by his publisher. They've said that the manuscript that he has sent in is not up to the mark, so they won't be taking it forward or something. So now he has to find the motivation to work on that manuscript, to improve it so that it goes through. And as he goes through the world, as he goes to conventions, as he goes to book signings, he realizes a lot of things. And what exactly is it that he realizes? Will he put these realizations, put these truths that he finds into use, forms this story. Well, I had heard that this book is a laugh out loud riot and it's very funny and the like, but even though I did chuckle at quite a few places, I didn't find it like very groundbreaking. It's good, I'm not saying it's not, but it's not something that I would laugh my ass off, if you know what I mean. And like the author says in the book, when someone talks to him about why his book isn't selling that much, and that person says that you're talking about a white gay man walking around America or California or whatever place it was, and he's talking about his troubles while he's doing so, white troubles while he's doing so. That is why. And I was like, you know what? This might be true of this book as well, the one that I am currently reading, in which I'm reading the story of him writing the story of a white man roaming around the United States of America, and it felt like an inception of sorts for me. But that's what I felt about Less. I mean, it's good, but it's not the best. I didn't go crazy over it. I will read its sequel though in time. So those were the 5 books that I read in October 2022. Which of these have you read? Which ones do you want to read? Which books did you read in October? Did you find any favorites? Or do you have any least favorite book that you want to rant about? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. If you like this video, please like it and share it to spread the word. And if you like my content and would like to see more from me, don't forget to hit subscribe and click on the bell icon beside the subscribe button to get notified as and when I post new videos. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Until next time, keep reading, keep watching, and add melodrama to your life.